thank you everybody for taking the time. I know it was kind of short notice, so I appreciate you hopping on and being willing to take some time out of your Giving Tuesday and out of your day. Really excited to be able to share this information with you because it's absolutely important. And actually, churches, faith-based organizations, a lot of them utilize Constant Contact because of some of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you today, and some of the things that I'll kind of tease, because we're just going to focus on the main kind of bread and butter that Constant Contact is known for today. But we do a lot more to that. I'm going to tease it a little bit, but we're going to focus mainly on the email marketing side of things. So I'll do a quick introduction to myself. I've been working at Constant Contact for almost 12 years and have really focused recently on onboarding and helping you understand the benefits of Constant Contact, how you can utilize it to engage with your parishioners, with your community, and be able to grow your church at large. And so I'm really happy to be able to share this with you. And I know that a big part of why you're here, or at least my guess is one of the reasons you're here, is that you have incredibly busy weekends, that there's a lot of stuff happening, you're constantly on the go, you're having great attendance, you're really engaging with your community and your parishioners. But then as the week kind of goes on and you get during the middle of the week, things might slow down a little bit. There might be opportunities that you're doing and ways that people can engage with you, different ministry opportunities, student and children's programming, community service, maybe some midweek services, small groups, events, volunteer opportunities that people may not know about or may not quite hear about if you're not utilizing things like email marketing, social media posting, things like that. And so the goal for today is to kind of show you how you can implement some of these strategies in being able to engage with people. If you're already collecting their email addresses, if you're already getting their phone numbers, if you're already having these conversations with them, this is just going to give you that extra layer of communication that you can do in a clean and professional way. So how can you maintain engagement throughout the week? Well, I'm from Constant Contact. I'm a little biased. You can use Constant Contact. And I love the fact that the Archdiocese is partnered with us because this is going to be a huge opportunity for you. So one question that we get a lot when it comes to email marketing, and you may have this question too, is, okay, well, we can send out emails all we want, but aren't they just going to go into the spam folders? Well, we have our support team that is able to help answer these questions for you, and also this is their job, is to make sure that these emails that you send out through our platform get delivered. So that way they land in the inbox. And if for whatever reason they don't, then we would be able to help answer those types of questions for you. But because of our incredible team, the relationship, the fact that we've been in this business for 26 years and we have a great reputation at Constant Contact, we have a best-in-class 97% delivery rate for all emails that are sent through our platform. And as Jamil alluded to, that's millions of emails that are sent out over a weekly basis. So we want to be in your corner. We want to help answer your questions. And the good news is you don't have to worry about this delivery anymore. And I'll show you the difference between using something like this versus using something like Gmail or Outlook directly is a great opportunity for you. But beyond that, we also give you some tools that you can use to grow your list as well. If you're looking for ways to engage in your community and get them to come to services, to engage with you, to volunteer, we give you great list growth tools that you can use to help grow your list as well, and to be able to grow your parishioners in your churches. So we'll give you some information about that. And this is one of the most important things, I think, because I know you're busy. We're all busy. We all have so much going on. And so you don't necessarily have the time to go in and learn a brand new system all on your own. Right. So we actually have an incredible support team that will be able to answer those questions for you. We have an extensive knowledge base with video tutorials. I'm sure this is not going to be the only personalized training that we do with you guys. So whether it be myself or somebody on my team, I know that we are going to engage with you as much as possible so that you can optimize your usage of Constant Contact. So what are we going to talk about? You should have received a welcome email already. If you have not received a welcome email, definitely let us know and we will make sure that you do. There's some great information. I got a copy of some of the text that was in that welcome email, and it's really great information to help you get started. But just in case, I'll show you how to log into your account, and then we'll talk about how to manage your contacts, and then we'll talk about types of campaigns that you can do with your account as it stands now, with an emphasis on the email campaign side of things first. And then we're going to talk about reporting. So that way you can go from beginning to end, what you can see out of Constant Contact. And then as time allows, I will hop into my account directly and be able to show you a demo of some of the things that we're going over. So let's go ahead and get started. So you should have, like I said, received the welcome email. If you did, you should have received your username and password. If you have not, again, let us know. But all you'll need to do is just go to www.constantcontact.com, hit the little login button in the top right, and then enter in your username and your password. Obviously, your username would probably not be your username and your password's not your password, but you get the idea. You'll be able to put in your information here, and then that'll take you right into a screen that looks similar to this. So you'd have your list of campaigns, which I'll get to in just a second, your ability to manage contacts, reporting, sign-up forms. We're going to go through some of this in the live demo, but this is the home page that you should see once you log in. If you go to a different spot, then you're in the wrong place. All right, that first bullet point was quick. So now let's talk about actually importing the contacts. So when it comes to, let me back up real quick. So when it comes to Constant Contact, if you have not heard of Constant Contact or you haven't used a platform like us before, this is a solution that gives you the ability to upload a list of contacts. Say you have 100 people in your parish or 1,000 people in your parish, and you are able to send out an email to all of them or to specific groups of them at one time. And the way that that works is you choose the list, and then when you send it out, it sends it out BCC, which just means that nobody's going to see anybody else's email addresses. This is one thing that's a little bit different than if you were to send something through Gmail or Outlook. Of course, you can make them all BCC, but sometimes you get an email and you see everybody else's email addresses and it just feels a little bit more impersonal. This is going to make it so that you can send out clean looking, professional looking, branded emails, so that people recognize your church, they recognize your branding, they recognize your style, your verbiage, and be able to connect with you in that way. So with all that being said, there are several ways that you can actually grow your list, or not grow your list, but upload your contacts into the system. So we have some syncs. If you have different CRMs like Salesforce or something like that that you can use, you could certainly check to see if we have any integrations or syncs with that. The easiest way that people usually use to import their contacts is through spreadsheets. So if you happen to have a spreadsheet of contacts, we can certainly talk through how you can import that, or you could even copy and paste them. That's kind of the long way to do it, but that is a possibility as well. Some fields that you can import into the system. The only thing that we absolutely need in order to send out an email is an email address, right? Because if we don't have an email address, then we can't send an email to them. But I recommend at the very least email address, first name and last name. That way you can personalize it. You can, say whatever you need to do. And it allows you to have engagement beyond just people being numbers on a spreadsheet or numbers in your group. But beyond that, you could even go further. You can put in birthdays, you could put in anniversaries, you can put in zip codes, you can put in full physical addresses if needed. You can also have other custom fields. Have they volunteered before? Do they have kids that are working as altar boys or whatever the case may be? All of these things are opportunities for you to then be able to send out direct messaging to people that you need to, because as you're going to find, whether through this presentation today or through some of our subsequent ones, we really talk highly about trying to send out to targeted groups as much as possible. There will be times where it makes sense to send to everybody. Say there's a cancellation, or you have a really bad snowstorm, or I'm over here in Florida, you had a big hurricane traipse through your backyard. If something like that happens, then you'll want to send out to everybody. But then there might be other times where you just need to talk about services and you need to reach out to your volunteers or whatever the case may be. Those are going to be targeted groups that you can send to, and importing this information is going to help you with getting those buckets in place. And we'll get into more detail on how you can do that in a second. There's 3 main groups that you can have in Constant Contact. The first one that you'll probably use are lists. So lists are going to be kind of your general containers of your contacts. So these are going to be your men's groups, your women's groups, your general group of everybody, your people who are on staff, whatever the case may be. These are kind of your general groups that you could then send out your content to. These are also public facing. Now, this is important because if you are getting to the point where you want to put maybe something on your website to get people to sign up to get details from you, this would give you the ability to give them lists to opt into. So say you have the men's ministry, maybe you have a ministry opportunity, maybe you have upcoming jobs, maybe you have events and you need volunteers. People can check boxes for specific lists that they want to be a part of to then receive content from you about those specific things. And you would do that based on building out those lists. So that's a great way for you to use the lists side of things. And then of course you can import those contacts right in there. Tags allows you to build out a group of people to either include or exclude from a mailing. So say that, I'll just use a simple example of maybe you have a youth event coming up and you want to exclude people over 18. If you're importing that information, you can import their age and then you can exclude people who are over 18. Those kinds of things. And then segments is actually the one that can be the most powerful. What this does is it makes it so that you can build out groups based on some of those search parameters, and it'll just automatically update as you're managing your contacts. So I don't necessarily expect you to do all of this right out of the gate, but what I am saying is as much as you can put your people into specific groups to then send out communication, that relevancy, that timeliness, getting people content based on their preferences is going to really help you with boosting that reporting and that engagement. So we'll talk real quickly about the sign-up forms, and then I will pause for any questions if there are any. But when it comes to using something like Constant Contact, we are what's called a permission-based service. We have to comply with the CAN-SPAM Act. So that just means that people who you are emailing should expect to hear from you. We can't just purchase lists. We can't just go scrubbing websites and copying email addresses in the footers and things like that. These need to be people who are expecting to hear from you. And so whether that be they've come to one of your services before, come to an event, or they've given you a call, or they've even reached out to you from your website, if there's some sort of engagement there, then that's where email addresses are going to be a great opportunity for you to then be able to engage with them beyond that. So whether that be them making a donation, any of these options are a great way for you to get people to sign up to then receive future content from you. We have some sign-up form options that are available for you too. So we have a landing page that you can build that, for example, you can put in the signatures of just your regular emails. You could put on your social media pages. If you have a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page, you could build out a landing page that says, hey, would you like to sign up to receive our newsletters? And then people can join and subscribe that way. If you have in-person events and those opportunities there, we do have apps that you can download either on your phone or on tablets. If you happen to use an Android or an Apple tablet, we can download an app and get people to subscribe through a kiosk of sorts that way. And then, of course, website sign-up forms, put something on your website, and that way people can visit your site and then, for example, get a pop-up that says, hey, join our list to get the latest information from the Archdiocese. And then they could fill out their information and subscribe that way without you having that direct one-to-one conversation. Organic growth, organic marketing on that aspect of things. So there's a lot of great resources for you there. All right, let me pause here for just a second. All right, let's see. Okay.
Actually,
so
if Thomas, I'll jump in if I could real quick. Because I've gotten a couple emails, I think from Frank and from Vasily, asking about the email. And so if you have signed up already for Constant Contact, you will have received back from us how to get started. If you haven't signed up yet, then you won't have received an email. So if you want to start using Constant Contact and you haven't yet, you can send us an email. Send an email to internet@goarch.org and just say, we want to get started, and we'll send you everything you need.
Excellent. Perfect. And then, yep, I do see just some comments about the templates. Yes, the templates are, I'm going to show you a template that I put together, but there are a lot of amazing templates that are going to be great starting vessels for you to be able to then put in your information. And as time allows with the demo, I'll be able to show you how you can do that. But I agree. Templates are beautiful, and they're a lot better than just throwing something out there through Gmail or something like that. So great transition. Let's chat about it. So with your Constant Contact account, we're going to focus chiefly on the email campaigns, but I wanted to pause here for just a second so that you could see what you're able to do. All of these things are included in your plan. It's not just email. Email is what we're known for. Email is what we're focusing on today. But you can also connect your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn pages and post directly onto your social media pages right through your Constant Contact account. That's included in this. You can monitor comments and you can monitor direct messages through Constant Contact right through here. So if you're working on an email and then you say, hey, I want to send this on social media, I want to share this campaign that I'm doing, absolutely, go with it. If you have events coming up, you can create RSVPs. Now, I will say that we are doing an update of the events page, but you do have an events page available for you now that you can use to collect RSVPs and be able to get an idea of how many people are attending the event that you have, whether that be a weekend service or some other extracurricular event. And then, as I mentioned before, landing pages. And then this one might seem a little random, but if you're not a graphic designer, I'm horrible at graphic design, so I need a little bit of help. This is a huge opportunity. Canva is absolutely amazing. They have a free version, and if you're a nonprofit, they also give you nonprofit access as well. At least they should. If they don't, I guess don't quote me on that. But typically, they give some sort of nonprofit discount or at least free access that you could certainly look into. And it's a great tool for you to be able to make really clean looking imagery that you could then use for social media, for your email newsletters, for anything that you're sending out. And again, this is all included. I always get at least one person that says Canva integration, excellent. It's so great. I love it. All right, so here's an example of a template. Obviously, I just went to the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese and put this template together. But the idea here is branding, is conciseness, and is making it just look clean, right? So we've got our logo, we've got our branding colors in here. We're talking about the Advent resources here. This is specifically about the Nativity Fast. And then down at the bottom is the 24th Monday after Pentecost. So this just gives you an idea of what you can do. And what's really great about this is if you get the bones of your template put together, and all you need to do then is just make copies of it and be able to make your changes and be able to just adjust as needed and move forward. And again, I'll show you how you can do that in a second, but that's going to really save you a ton of time. I'm going to say that first template might be a bit of an initial learning curve, but once that's done, then you just copy it each month or each time you need to send out your next campaign and be able to send it out. It's a very simple drag and drop editor, and it's mobile responsive, meaning that if somebody looks at it on their phone, if somebody looks at it on their computer, on their tablet, it's going to respond based on whatever device they're using. So for example, you get the little glimpse of this 2-column layout down here at the bottom that will stack one on top of the other on a phone. And so whatever's in the left-hand column will go up on top, and then whatever's in the right-hand column would go on the bottom. So it just makes it so it's nice and clean all the way down the page. We'll get into some best practices on what you'll want to do as we move forward here. The template could look beautiful, but if you have a boring subject line, then nobody's going to open it, or at least very few people will open it, right? So We give you some suggestions on subject lines. We even have a little subject line recommender that if you're running into writer's block and you're not quite sure what you want to say, it'll scan that email for you and give you some suggestions as to what some good subject lines are. But here are a few things that could help start the process here. So asking a question, I mean, curiosity is a great thing. It really helps people want to engage with you. We just want to know answers. We want to see if we know the answer, right? So you can certainly start with a question and see if that gives people interest in what you're wanting to share. Chunking just means if you have a couple different topics and you want to highlight what those topics are, you just put a couple little blurbs in each one of those. So fast day, epistle, and gospel reading. Alliteration, the brain loves patterns. So if you have a way to put alliteration into your subject line, then that's a great way for you to do that. Affirming your foundations of faith. And then lists are great too. Now, there's actually a couple reasons why lists are great. 5 family discussion topics this week. What you can do with this, because we're going to get into reporting in a second, is if you have a list of 5 topics, maybe bring in 3 in the email and have the other 2 behind like a read more that goes to a PDF, to a blog, your website, something like that. Because ultimately, yes, the readership is important because at least it shows that your parishioners are paying attention. But if you have links and you have ways to engage with them where they can even call you, they can reach out, say that you want to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month and you're wanting to help with any counseling or whatever the case may be, you can have links so that people can book appointments with you and be able to engage with you that way. And then this 5 family discussions would be able to help you get more clicks so that people can have what discussion topics they need this week. And then finally, RSVP for webinar tomorrow. Any sense of urgency is a great way for you to do it. Now, the thing that I will say here is make sure that whatever you do in your subject line, you're able to deliver within the body of the email. Don't do what's called clickbait, where you do something fun and clever, but then it has nothing to do with the rest of the email, right? Because then people just feel like they've been baited and they may not open up your email anymore. So fill out your content in the body of the email, make sure it looks good, and then you can use that to get fun and creative with your subject line itself. Regarding the content itself, 200 words or less. Sometimes we find, especially in nonprofits and in the church space, a lot of times we will see emails that if you were to copy and paste them into a Word document, they're 25, 30 pages long. If you're looking at your emails, do you have time to read 20 or 30 pages? You probably have about, 30 seconds to read any emails that you're getting, right? So use that same courtesy with the rest of your people that you're sending and keep your emails short and sweet and hard to beat as much as possible. Provide those clear next steps in that if that's linking to a website, linking to a landing page, to a giving page, if that's to give you a call, all of these things, make sure that you're just being very clear on what you'd like them to do next in the email. We recommend having at least 1 link in your email, 1 call to action. If your email is just text, then that's fine, but the way that opens are tracked, which I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but the way opens are tracked are either somebody downloading the images or somebody clicking on a link in an email. So if you don't have any links in the email, then you're not quite getting the best usage out of the content that you're sharing. So just be aware of that as you're putting out your content. Making it personal. So I mentioned earlier, BCC, meaning that nobody's going to see anybody else's information. The luxury of that is you can write to you and not to y'all, meaning that you can say what you want and use you pronouns and be able to talk as if you're talking to individual people. And that's a really great way to be able to engage. And then keeping mobile in mind. And then this last one here, sending between weekly and monthly is kind of the sweet spot when it comes to sending content through Constant Contact. Now, I know that this might be a little bit different for you, especially this time of year, right? So if you have your epistle and your gospel readings, or you have the nativity and you're wanting to send out daily emails, as long as your group is okay with that and is, expecting that, then by all means go for it. We've seen a lot of people that do daily devotionals and things like that. One thing I would recommend for that is maybe have that be one of your lists that people can opt into. So that way you don't risk that, you don't take that risk of somebody opting out because they get too much email from you. But just wanted to put that out there. Usually weekly to monthly is a good time frame, especially if you're just talking about services coming up or whatever the case may be. But if you have opportunities for daily emails and you have that time to do it, then go for it. All right, so some overlooked features. Now, I put this in here because as you're progressing and as you're getting familiar with Constant Contact, there's a lot of fun bells and whistles that you can do to really make this shine. So I'll just go quickly over these because I want to make sure that there's time for a demo and to answer your questions as well. But I already talked about recommendations. You can test A/B subject line, which just means 2 different subject lines at the same time. You can test and see which one works the best. Click segmentation. If you are putting links in your emails and somebody clicks on one of those links, it just automatically puts them into a list for you that you can then follow up with later. Those are kind of your groups that you're wanting to engage with. Connecting your social media pages, put those in your email and people can connect with you or share on their social media pages. And then you could even ask for feedback from people right in your Constant Contact email. And then finally, video and read more. So read more just is kind of like a blog. So if you have a blog post or you have something on your website and you want to incorporate that into your email, that's actually what that first block was that I had that had the nativity information. I just grabbed the URL from the site and copied and pasted it, and it pulled in that information for me automatically. And so you have the ability to do that as well. So I'm going to pause here for a second and talk briefly about content, right? So content is key. Relevancy is key. It's not necessarily the quantity of sending, it's the quality of sending. And so when it comes to the content that you're sending out, you're going to have to answer some questions like, what is your mission? Why are you sending that email? How does it align with your mission? How does it align with your vision? How does it align with helping your parishioners draw closer in their relationships? What can you do to help enhance people's walk through what you're sending out through Constant Contact, through your emails, and through the other content that you're doing? One thing that is really impactful is testimonials. Members want to hear about change that's happening because of your ministry. And so if you're able to share testimonials, especially this time of year, this is a great opportunity for you to do that. And then if you have other content, video testimonials, blog articles, baptism photos, small group projects, social media, I mean, these are all just ideas of how you can share your stories and how you can add a little bit more personalness. I don't think that's a word. Make it more personal in your sense that you do through Constant Contact. So just some ideas. Sometimes it's a little hard to know what you're wanting to do, especially if you're trying to send out weekly or monthly content. Hopefully these give you some ideas of what you can do. All right, last thing before I hop into the demo portion itself, I want to make sure there's time for Q&A as well, because I'm sure that you'll have some questions, is reporting. Reporting is probably one of the most important aspects of this. I think I've said this like 3 times so far, but reporting is key because this is going to get you a realistic look on how your emails are doing. If you send something through Gmail or Outlook or something outside a platform like this, sometimes you're just sending it out and hoping for the best, right? But this actually is going to allow you to look at your reporting, see who's open, see who hasn't opened, see who's clicked, see who's bounced, meaning they haven't gone through. All of these things are critical for you to be able to get an idea of what each email campaign is doing and how each email campaign is doing. So these are the things that we track for you. So we track opens, including mobile versus desktop percentage. We track clicks. We also have something called a heat map, which if you have a couple different links in your email, this will show you which ones are the most popular. Bounces, meaning did the email bounce back, meaning it did not go through. We will give you those email addresses so that way you can make any corrections if it's a spelling mistake, or you can delete those as needed. Unsubscribes and spam complaints, we will track those and automatically remove those for you. We don't automatically remove bounces because we don't want to just assume that those are bad addresses. I mean, they are bad addresses, but we want to give you that ability to adjust accordingly, whether that be to call the person or to check for spelling errors or whatever the case may be. If you don't recognize the person, then of course you can delete them, but this gives you that ability to do some of that management to clean up that list. And then, as I mentioned before, we also will let you know who did not open your email as well. That way, if somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I didn't get that email about the event coming up, I'd like to volunteer, you could then see, oh, they're in that did not open report. Let me send it again to them and see if they'll get it this time. So this is going to be a great way for you to be able to gauge how each of your emails are doing through the system. Now, we're going to get a little technical here. And I'll be honest, this is almost a little bit too technical for even my wheel space, but this is absolutely important. So a lot of you will likely be doing your own domains for sending. So if you would like to use your own domain to send your emails through Constant Contact, you can do that. This information is also in that welcome email that you received from the Archdiocese there. So you can get a little bit more detail, but just in case, I wanted to include this. So you would need to update your DNS records, and you would need to do DKIM, which is essentially the way to let our system know that you're wanting to use your domain, and also that you're sending through Constant Contact using your domain and syncing the two together. So that way there's no risk of emails going into junk folders and things like that. So these links down here at the bottom, which you should get a PDF version as well. I sent that over to Jamil, but each of these are clickable so that you can get more details on that. And rest assured, if you run into any hiccups or you have a web designer that needs a little bit of help with any of that, we have a team that can help you with this as well. But that is one thing to keep in mind, is if you're using your own domain instead of using something like yahoo.com or gmail.com, then this is a great place to go if you have a good reputation with your domain. So I know that's a little bit cryptic, but this is a great place to start, and you can go through and get some more details on some of these details in here. So this is an example of one of the reporting pages. So you can see sends, opens, clicks, bounces, all of these are clickable. And then this is the averages for religious organizations. So about a 41% average open rate, a 2.4% average click rate, and an 8.4% average bounce rate. So these are kind of the numbers that you can look at to see if you're doing okay. But as you can see, this is actually one of the higher open rates, click rates that we see across different verticals. Because the idea here is if they are parishioners, if they're part of your church, they're going to want to hear from you. And so we want to make sure that we're monitoring that, tracking that, and helping you understand how you can grow this list and how you can engage even further if you're not quite getting the results that you're looking for. And then the last thing that you could do from a reporting standpoint is this allows you to then get groups like we were talking about before. So if you're wanting to get a list of people who clicked on your last email, you can do that. If you're wanting to resend to non-openers, meaning people that didn't open it the first time, you can do that. If you're wanting to compare campaigns and pivot your content based on the different things that you sent out over those two campaigns, you can do that. So that way you can ensure that you are getting the best information out to as many people as possible. All right. So as I mentioned before, we just focused on email. I'm going to only focus on email in the demo portion as well. But just a quick reminder that all of this is included in your platform. So we'll probably even do a part 2 or part 3 or however many parts we want to do, where we talk about social posting, where we talk about landing pages and utilizing those, where we talk about events. If you have integrations or you have a CRM that you're using, we can certainly work out some of this content, but just know as you're logged into the account, you don't just have to do email. Play around with some of these other functionality and be able to utilize that. All right, so let me pause here. I do see a question from Evelyn here. Can we find out who might had never opened any emails over time? So There is the ability when you do a segment, I don't think you, well, you might be able to, if you know kind of when you started your account, you can maybe go back to the very beginning of that time frame, but you are able to get segments of people who have not opened your emails over a specific span of time. So whether that be the past year, the past 6 months, the past 3 months, whatever the case may be, you can get that group and build that as a segment that you could then send out a message saying, hey, what gives? Why aren't you opening my email? Maybe don't say it that way, but get an idea of how you would want to engage with those who either did not open, who did open, who did not click, who did click. You do have the ability to do that through the segment side of things. Absolutely. Any questions beyond that as I am pulling over the page itself here? All right. Well, keep those questions coming. And as you get familiar with what we're doing here, hopefully some other questions will come up. So as I mentioned before, this is the page. So I actually have a few more things built in here. So you can see your total number of contacts, your average open rate, contact growth versus decline. Are you growing? Are you decreasing? And then social audience growth is in that social media space. And then you'll be able to see your recent campaigns. As you can see, this is a test page. So I have all sorts of stuff in here. And then down here, you're also going to see tips and tricks and different videos that you can use as reminders to different things that we're going over. So on the top here, campaigns, this is where you'll be able to see all of your different campaign types. Contacts is where you'll be able to manage your contacts. Reporting is where you can see how each of your email campaigns is doing. Sign up forms, we'll get into that in a little bit. Websites and stores you probably aren't going to be using very often. Events we'll talk about in another session. Social we'll talk about in another session. And then integrations, this again, if you use something like Salesforce or something like, I don't know, Donor Perfect or something like that, you can check in this integrations tab to see if there's something that you can sync up your existing contacts with your constant contact account. Library is where you will store your images and your documents, because you can upload documents as well. And then the accounts tab is just for partners, so you won't see that in your account. So let's go into the campaigns tab here. So when I go in here, if you're wanting to start fresh, maybe you are brand new and you're wanting to get in here and start a template, you would just hit create here. And then you choose your campaign types. So I'll go ahead and hit email. And this is where you're going to see the templates that are built for you that you can start with. So I'm just going to show this to you, and then I'm going to go back to the sample template that I've baked a little bit more for you. But this is where you can actually see the templates provided that the page loads. Let me go ahead and refresh the page here. And then you should see the template pack that comes up. Disadvantage to working from home, sometimes the pages like to misbehave. Here we go. It's getting there. All right, here we go. So you're able to go through and you can see the different templates. So you had some sort of Giving Tuesday campaign you wanted to do. If you had a different event, we have Thanksgiving, there's Christmas stuff coming up here. These are all going to kind of pop up based on holiday seasonality, but then you can also do some searching, or you can choose a layout. Say you're wanting to do an informational layout, a calendar layout, even just a simple card, all of these things. You would just choose one of these as a starting point, and then that'll take you into the editor itself. So that's where you would start. Let me give you one that's just a little bit more baked here. And that way you can see some of the things that you can do in here. So again, this is meant to be a very simple drag and drop style editor. So that way you can move things around as you need to make the email shine the way that you want it to. So on the left-hand side, what you're going to see is there's going to be individual sections that you can incorporate into your email. So whether that be a text block, an image block, a button block, a video block, social share options. This is that read more that I was talking about. So you can just drag and drop individual elements over if you want to do that. Or if you scroll down a little bit further, you can drag and drop a whole layout. So say that you want a 3-column layout. Maybe you have 3 similar items that you're wanting to talk about. You could then incorporate your imagery, your text, and you could drag and drop buttons as you need to here. So that way you've got this laid out. And as I mentioned before, even though it's 3 columns here, if I go to preview and I go to mobile, everything stacks one on top of the other on mobile. Desktop, it would be in the specified columns, mobile, one on top of the other. If you don't like what you have here, you could delete the entire thing. If you want to move this image so that it's to the left-hand side. So it's meant to be just a very simple flow for you to be able to go in and change out whatever you want to change. If I go over here to design, this is where you can put in your global styling. So the outer background, I'm going to go ahead and hit done on this. This is the coloring for the Archdiocese, but if you need to change that coloring to whatever color you have, you can go into advanced, put in hex values if you have those, or just go in here to basic and choose the one that you want. If you want to put in background imagery, you can. Just be a little cautious with this, because if you just grab a random image and try to put it in that way, this does tile. So I'll show you what that looks like. Just because we want to be cautious with that. So I'll just use the logo here. Doesn't quite look the cleanest. So you just want to be a little cautious with that. But if you think it makes sense, you can do that. And then you could do your dividers here. You can do your button colors that you want to use for all of your buttons. As you can see on the right, they're all changing as I'm going through here. And then you could put in your global fonts. So if Arial isn't your font, maybe it's Georgia or Tahoma, Arial, you just go through, choose the template that is closest to what you typically use for your website and for your branding. And you could just work your way down the page here and be able to make those adjustments as you need to. So that's where you would probably start, is get your branding in place, get your logo in there. I'll show you how to do that here real quick. But this would then be considered a master template once you have it kind of laid out the way that you want. And then you could even call this master template, please copy. And then you just make a copy of that moving forward. That way you always have an original that you can refer back to. And that way you just make your adjustments as you need to. If you want to add your logo, you just click in here, go to replace. There's that create in Canva option that you can use, or I can upload directly from my computer. Go to my desktop here. I'll go right into my folder. I know it's the same image, but work with me here. We'll grab the image. Oh, yeah, that's the WEP file. It does have to be a JPEG, a GIF, or a PNG. I thought I grabbed the right one here. I must not have. Let me grab the other one here. There we go. That's a PNG. Then you could upload your file. Well, boy, howdy. Thomas says, and picked the right imagery here. Give me 1 second here. There we go. All right, we got one. Let me go ahead and hit done. And then I can choose that image and choose insert. Now you see this is a white background, but I can go in and I can change it to one of my recent colors in here if I want to do that. So that's how you could change that image. This is that read more option that I was referring to before. So this is specifically goarch.org/advent. So because I grabbed that URL from the site, it pulled in that information automatically. And then I can go in and I can rearrange as I need to right through here. But as you can see here, this is just pulling in the first couple sentences of this particular block, this particular page on the website. So this makes it so that the person can read more to be able to get more information. And then down here is a block that I built from scratch based on one of the layouts over here on the left. So I put in the information and then I was able to put in this image, and then the text I was able to copy and paste and then have the read more link in here. Forgot to remove this, so I could just click here, hit that trash, and be able to remove that as well. So as you can see, it's meant to be just a very simple flow for you to be able to get the look and feel that you are wanting. If you don't like what you've done, you can go all the way back to wherever you were at the start, as long as you're in that same session, and be able to get it back to where it was. Any questions on the editor experience over here? All right, go ahead and put those in if you have them. I'm going to show you two more things here before we get into the contacts. Is the template width adjustable? No, so there are a couple templates that are a little bit wider, but most of the templates are 600 pixels wide, mainly because that helps with that responsiveness. If it's too wide, then that can affect the mobile responsiveness of the campaigns. But yeah, most of them are 600. You can go into the campaign picker that I showed you before and type out the word wide, W-I-D-E, and that will pull up a couple templates that are 800 pixels wide versus the 6. And so you could certainly use that if you want.
600 pixels wide is pretty standard across the entire email world, not just the constant contact restriction. This is how wide emails are everywhere.
Yep.
How wide they should be.
All right, so we talked briefly about personalization, saying hello, Thomas, in the email. So I drag and dropped a text block in here, so I can click in here, go to insert, and then greeting tag. And so this allows me to say hello first name, hello Thomas, hello whatever the case may be. And then if I don't happen to have the first name, this secondary greeting is in place. So that way it'll just say greetings, hello friend, whatever you want to say there if you don't happen to have the first name for somebody. And that will automatically pull their information in the moment the email lands in their inbox. And you could also do that up here in the subject line as well. So give yourself the spot where you want to put it. And then you've got your first name. Latest news for you, Thomas. So you can incorporate that if you want to. The pre-header just helps complement that subject line. As you can see, the subject is in bold, and then the pre-header is just text that will either show up to the right or underneath. This just helps you have two different spots that you can use to provide the what the content is going to be about in the email itself. So then you could go ahead and hit insert. I always recommend sending a test email to yourself just to make sure that everything looks good. So you can do that to up to 5 different email addresses right in here. Add a personal note if you want. And then as long as everything looks good, then you can go ahead and go to continue. And this is where you'll see those lists that I was referring to before. So you can choose the list that you want or multiple lists. If you do choose multiple lists and the person happens to be on both lists, they will only receive one email. So you don't have to worry about that. And then you're able to either send now or schedule for later. So you could even create several email campaigns and schedule them to go out. You don't have to be here every single time to do the send now whenever you're needing to. So say you want to do those daily devotional style emails, you can come in on Monday morning and get all of them out for that week if you wanted to do that, just by scheduling those out. All right, for the sake of time here, let me go ahead and hop into the contact section. Go ahead and put your questions in, and if for whatever reason I can't answer them in time, then we will make sure to follow up with you. but I'll just real quickly show you how you can add your contacts via spreadsheet if you have to do that. So you would just go to add contacts and then upload from file. So this could be an Excel file, this could be a CSV file, this could be a text file. This could even be if you use Macs and you have vCard files, you can upload a vCard file in here as well. I'm doing just the spreadsheet for now, but I've got email address, first name, last name, and then volunteered before. This is an example of one of those custom fields that you can build. You can just scroll down here, create a custom field called volunteered before, create that. And now that is a field that you could then use for searching to be able to get to the right person. Go to continue. We talked about permission before. This just means I have implied or expressed permission. Implied just means they have visited you, but they haven't necessarily opted in through a sign-up form on your website or something like that. Express means they've done some sort of action, whether they signed up on your website, they checked a box during a donation campaign, whatever the case may be. And then you choose the list that you want them to go into and then hit upload. So pretty straightforward way for you to be able to import those contacts. If you do choose a list, every person in that spreadsheet would be added to that list. So if you're wanting to divvy things up into specific buckets, you could either do that by breaking them up in the spreadsheet side of things, or you can do that through the segments piece, which we can go over segments in more detail in a future session. It did recognize that this email address is in the wrong format, so I missed the period here. So it's not going to see spelling mistakes per se, but if you have something that says no email or has 2 ats or has, in this case, was missing a period, it will try to catch those for you. And so that way you can make your adjustments and save your changes. And then from there, you can see your different lists. You can see who those contacts are. You could then click on each individual here and be able to see their specific record, including any engagement, meaning any campaigns that they've been sent. You could see what lists they're part of and be able to edit their record right in here. And then if you need to merge these contacts, if you need to delete them, you can do all of that right through here as well. Say I need to delete one of these contacts. I would just check the box, go to actions and delete, and that'll take them out of the list. So you can work through your contacts that way, be able to manage those as you need to. And then once you send out that email, then you could see the reporting. So this is that screenshot that I showed you before, where you could see your list of sends for a campaign that you've sent out, your opens, your clicks. So I can click on one of these, and then you'll be able to see the names of who clicked, what they clicked on, how many times they clicked on something, if they clicked on it multiple times. You can see your opens, your bounces. This will also give you the reason for the bounce over here on the right-hand side. So I know this one is spelled wrong because I don't have tnetasign1@yahoo.com. So I can go in here and I can edit this record if I wanted to do that. Or if I didn't recognize these people, I can select all and delete them. And that also by default will unsubscribe them as well. That way there's no risk of you accidentally bringing in those bad email addresses again. And then I'll show you that heat map here. That shows you which links were the most popular. So let me pull this up. So in this particular email, I have about 4 links, and you'll be able to see which ones were the most popular. So this particular one was the most popular. It was the largest of the 3. And then you've got one click here, one click here. And so this just gives you an idea based on the size of the circle, which link was the most popular in the email. So you can make both buttons and images clickable just to make it a little bit easier for people to follow that information and go to where they need to go. All right, we have a whole minute left. So again, if you don't have a Constant Contact account, go ahead and let the team know, let Jamil know, and he'll make sure that you are set up. But any last questions? First of all, just thank you for taking the time today. Hopefully this was exciting for you. Hopefully it gets you geared up and ready to go. But any questions on anything that we went over?
If I could just take a quick 20 seconds and thank Thomas for his time, thank Constant Contact for offering a really great product to us. And thank you all for the work that you do. And we want to continue to offer products like this, either free or discounted where possible, to support your ministry. And I hope this does do exactly that. So please give us some feedback. Let us know how we can help you further in general and with Constant Contact specifically. This is kind of like this new frontier for many of you who have been using listserv for a while or maybe weren't using anything at all. And I hope Constant Contact does everything and more to support your ministry.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the time today.